let's go across, in fact, listening to what President Trump had to say.
I mean, what can I say? We have, it was an outstanding group of decisions, I think, that was made. A lot of decisions were made, too. There wasn't too much left out there. And we've come to conclusion on many very important points, and we'll be handing that to you in a little while. We're happy, because there was a lot of different things, many of them very important. We're in agreement on so many elements, large amounts, tremendous amounts of the soybeans and other farm products are going to be purchased immediately, starting immediately. If you notice, President Xi authorized yesterday for China to start, did you know that, right? China to start buying in very large quantities of soybeans and other things, which I appreciated. That was a very nice gesture. And many other things like that. On fentanyl, we agreed that he was going to work very hard to stop the flow. It's a very complex subject because it's used for lots of different reasons, including anesthetics and things. But he's going to work very hard on it, precursors, and I think you're going to see some real action taken. I've agreed, as you know, I put a 20% tariff on China because of the fentanyl coming in, which is it's a big tariff. And based on his statements today, I reduced it by 10%, so it's 10% instead of 20%, effective immediately. I believe he's going to work very hard to stop the death that's coming in. But again, it's complex because of what fentanyl is, what the precursors do. So I think you're going to see a big difference. We've had discussions on many of the elements that you're talking about all the time. You're asking me questions, and most of those things were I think agreed to for the most part. I think we agreed to almost everything in a very acceptable form. I wouldn't say everything was discussed, because there were things that probably, in retrospect, we could have discussed that we didn't, for some reason, didn't come up. But if you have any questions, let me know. Go ahead.
What about chips, sir? Did he agree? Did you agree to sell any more down?
Chips. We did discuss chips, and they're going to be talking to NVIDIA and others about taking chips. Look, we make great chips. NVIDIA is the leader. And I'll be speaking to Jensen from NVIDIA, but they're going to be discussing that with NVIDIA to see whether or not they can do. I said that's really between you and NVIDIA, but we're sort of the arbitrator or the referee. It's a little rough up here. The skies are a little rough.
And just to clarify, sir, that is the downgraded Blackwell chips. You would authorize those to be exported?
Not the Blackwell. We're not talking about the Blackwell. That just came out yesterday. But a lot of chips, a lot of the chips. And that's good for us.
We've got Shaun Rein. Shaun, I don't know if you managed to catch a bit of the clipping that we had the audio on from Trump. Now, there's lots to deduce there. That he's saying while there is a deal that they have reached, he's saying that the tariffs have not come down. They're at 45%. He said that he would be traveling again to China. It's not a signed deal just yet. And it seems like this is an annual negotiation. At least that's what Trump seems to be hinting, that the deal is going to be renewed every year.
I think this is sort of an every 3 to 6 month deal, every annual deal, because this is the way Trump can maintain leverage. He doesn't want any allies or any adversaries to feel comfortable. So he's going to continue to say, we'll make a deal, but in 90 days, if you don't give us what we want, we have the right and we will continue to push hard. That's one of the reasons why the Chinese haven't, the equity markets haven't gone up today, because nobody really in China trusts Trump. He'll say one thing one day, he'll change his mind and say the next thing the next day. That's part of his negotiating strategy, or it might be because he's a narcissist and sort of negotiates with himself on a day-by-day basis.
I get that, but does it seem like, I mean, while he reiterated towards the end that he's also going to be traveling to China come April, but does it seem like we could have a deal, whichever way it may be, whether it comes up for renewal every 3 months, 6 months, or annually, that we could be closing in on a signed deal pretty soon?
We're going to have a signed deal, but it's going to be small things. Okay, so it might be we're not going to slap the additional 100% tariffs on you because that's just not sustainable. So we're talking about 45% right now, but you know what? Look at what Trump's doing to you all in India. He still has 50% tariffs on you, despite Modi and he being a good friend. So for the Chinese side, 45% tariffs are not that big a deal. You look at it, last month, exports went up 8.3%. Industrial profits went up 20.6%. So the Chinese economy, I don't want to say it's humming along, but it's doing very well right now, withstanding the pressure from Trump. So you might see some deals, but I think the sort of semi-mini detente today that Trump engineered was for a way for the Chinese to buy 180,000 tons of soybeans from America, because Trump was getting a lot of pressure from not just Democrats, but also Republicans alike, saying we're losing out on $12 billion of sales to the Chinese in soybeans every year. You saw American farmers were going on social media, they're going on TV, saying that they were losing their livelihoods because of Trump. So for him, still has a threat of tariffs. He still has that cudgel and hammer, but he was able to extract the Chinese willing to buy some soybeans to help out, because we got to remember next year is the midterm elections and the approval ratings for Trump are at an all-time low. People are not happy with him in many pockets of the United States. Now, obviously, some people love him and are MAGA, but he's getting a lot of pressure because the economy in the U.S. is really quite weak right now. Again, I'm worried about stagflation. Autos, the average price are $50,000 in America. You saw today Amazon cut 20,000 workers. UPS is cutting a lot of workers. Microsoft, a lot of big American companies are cutting tens of thousands of workers because the economy just isn't very good right now.
You know, two things, Shaun, that I picked up. A, of course, was the soybean issue. But B, he's saying that all of rare earths have been settled. And he categorically said that in that, audio file that we managed to get a hold on, saying that you won't be using the term rare earths. And it's going to be long forgotten now. Also stating that agreed to reduce fentanyl tariff to 10% and that China will be discussing chips with NVIDIA and not talking about the NVIDIA's Blackwell. How do you sort of read into these two pieces? Because again, NVIDIA was a big bone of contention, as was rare earths.
So, I mean, Trump is either lying to himself or lying to the American people by saying that you're not going to have to worry about rare earths. Because again, rare earths, despite the name, are not that rare. You can get them in iron ore mines, you can get them in tailings, in Saudi Arabia even, China, and even Brazil, and even Greenland,